At the Sports History Network, we're proud to introduce you to a new sponsor for our podcasts. It's Home Field Apparel, your premium collegiate apparel brand right out of Indianapolis. They've got incredibly comfortable t-shirts, plus they're officially licensed with vintage college designs. They have over 150 plus colleges available now and always adding more. Homefield digs through the archives and history of your school to find unique logos, mascots, and moments to make thoughtful designs for your school. When you shop today, new customers can get a 15% discount off their first purchase using the promo code SPORTSHISTORY at checkout. You can learn more at homefieldapparel.com.
Have you ever heard of a professional football team in the NFL, or at least a precursor of the APFA, called the Chicago Tigers? Well, we have, and we have some information on this team that's maybe lost to history, and we're here to share it with you coming up in just a moment.
This is the Pigskin Daily History Dispatch, a podcast that covers the anniversaries of American football events throughout history on a day-to-day basis. Your host, Darren Hayes, is podcasting from America's North Shore to bring you the memories of the gridiron, one day at a time. So as we come out of the tunnel of the Sports History Network, let's take the field and go no huddle through the portal of positive gridiron history with PigskinDispatch.com.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.
Hello, my football friends. This is Darren Hayes of PigskinDispatch.com. Welcome once again to the Pig Pen, your portal to positive football history. And we love football history, and we love professional football history. Love going back into the early roots of the game and how professional players were tied into it. So this edition is going to cover one of the 14 original APFA teams, a team by the name of the Chicago Tigers. We'll get into them in just a moment. But before we do it, just want to make sure that you know that we have an emailed newsletter each and every day around 6:30 a.m. Eastern. You can find out what's going on from Pigpen Sports, PigskinDispatch.com, JerseyDispatch.com. Both the podcasts that relate to those, including this one, the Pigskin Dispatch podcast, and our audio drama that we do with Oz Davis of number 80 Productions, Orville Mulligan sports writer. And you can do it very simply. Go to the show notes of this very podcast, go to email subscriber, or go to PigskinDispatch.com front page of email subscription. Fill out 2 pieces of information, and voila, you are in. And tomorrow morning at 6:30 a.m., you will start getting that great newsletter with some great photos and great insight. And we're building on it each and every day, and I think you're really going to enjoy it for some great sports history early in your day. Now, the Chicago Tigers football history. They're considered to be one of the 14 original teams in the American Professional Football Association, APFA, in 1920. And they were the Chicago Tigers franchise. Now, they were a one-and-done franchise, so there's not a lot of information on them. Heck, many folks don't even realize that they ever existed and what would become the NFL. Now, the Tigers team was not officially or formally a member of the American Professional Football Association. However, the Tigers played enough games against APFA members in 1920 that they're generally included in the league standings, one of those sort of affiliate members. So it is basically a guilty by association type of entry into the league annals. But their interaction helps to spell out early National Football League history. The Tigers owner was a man by the name of Gil Falcon, and he also played and acted as their coach and general manager. Now, Falcon spent a total of 6 seasons from 1920 to 1925 in the National Football League with the Akron Pros, Canton Bulldogs, Hammond Pros, Rochester Jeffersons, and the Toledo Maroons, in addition to this first year with his own team, the Chicago Tigers. Now, Gil also served as a player coach during his time with the Toledo Maroons, much like he did with this Tigers team in 1920. Now, let's face it, the Tigers were in a competitive market in the Windy City. The Racine Cardinals were in place in the city, but others, such as the Decatur Staleys and the Hammond Pros, and some independent teams like the Thorn Tornadoes, which we'll talk about in a little bit, were in the area as well. And we know the following season that the Staleys would play in Chicago, and in 1922 they would become the Chicago Bears. We'll get back to more of that in just a moment. But the Tigers team was the first professional program at the professional level to play at Cubs Park, which will later become known as today as Wrigley Field. Legend has it that Chris O'Brien, and this is a mythical legend, we don't know if it holds much water, but it's a story all the same. Chris O'Brien, the owner of the Chicago Cardinals, felt there was a room in Chicago for only one pro football team. So he challenged the Tigers to a game. That winner would remain, and the loser would need to leave or fold or do whatever, but not be in Chicago anymore as a team. Now, we don't think that whole legend holds a whole lot of water, and there's a few reasons here that some experts bring up. First of all, our friend Joe Ziemba, in his great book, When Football Was Football, The Chicago Cardinals and the Birth of the NFL, doesn't imply this at all. Now, Joe is probably the foremost expert on Chicago Cardinals history. As a matter of fact, I'm going to make that statement. He is. He wrote multiple books, has a podcast on it, When Football's Football. Make sure you check that out on the Sports Histories Network. But Joe's research spells out a scene where O'Brien was unsure if his somewhat knee-jerk and quick joining of the APFA was even a good choice. He didn't know if he could financially have the wherewithal to support a professional football venture with his Racine Cardinals team. That is, however, until a big crowd, which was estimated to be about 10,000 by the Chicago Herald-Examiner in Joe's book, in the meeting of the Tigers of Chicago and the Cardinals in what the papers touted as the Chicago title game for football. Otherwise, that changed the Cardinal owner's mind, as Joe says, quote, persuaded him to completely submerge himself in pro football, end quote. Now, the Cardinals ended up winning that tilt on November 7th in a close one by the score of 6-3. The Tigers scored first on a 27-yard drop kick. Patty Driscoll scored the game's only touchdown on a 40-yard run to make that score of 6-3. Eventually, the Tigers 11s did disband, becoming the first NFL APFA to fold. But like some others have said, they did play two more games after that Cardinals game. So that's the other thing that sort of discredits that O'Brien's ultimatum game theory. Then they were against APFA members after losing to the Cardinals. Now, a theory posed by the website American Football Fandom suggests that maybe there's a different demise to the Chicago Tigers. They suggest that, in a theory, that George Halas wanted to move the Decatur Staleys to Chicago. We know that's true because he ended up doing that. However, the town was crowded by the competition of the Tigers and the Cardinals. Also true. It would be a real uphill climb to have that Decatur team come in with already two established teams there. Thus, he may have challenged Gil Falcon to the same winner-take-all duel which would take place on Thanksgiving Day. And this game would determine who would share the league's franchise rights to the city with the Cardinals. Well, we know that the game actually was played on Thanksgiving Day between these two teams, and the fact is that the Staleys won the slugfest by the score of 6-0, and the Chicago Tigers dropped out of the league soon afterward. The final game of the Tigers was a game against the independent Thorn Tornadoes a few days after the game with the Staleys. Now, against the APFA opponents, the Tigers were 1-5-1. Their lone victory, a 12-0 shutout of the Detroit Heralds. Little's recorded about the franchise's players, but we do know, according to the book Pro Football in the Days of Rockne, the Tigers' main offensive weapon was its passing game. The archive refers to the passes thrown by Johnny Barrett and Milt Gee to the likes of Jack Mager and Oscar Knopp, some great names in history. But little is written in the newspapers, if at all, in the days leading up to the game against Thorn. Could that have been the other win recorded on their final record? We know the APFA had them as 1-5-1, but their overall records recorded as 2-5-1. And also, who did they end up tying in the APFA? Well, these may be lost forever. They're questions that lost to time. But if you have any other information on who this may be or anything else on the Chicago Tigers, please send it to us at pigskindispatch@gmail.com, and we will certainly make record of it here with this attempt to preserve football history on the Chicago Tigers, and we would definitely appreciate it, that, and with any sources that you may have for knowing such information, a newspaper article or a book or something else. We'd love to hear about it. So, as we always say, we'd love to have you listening to our history. We hope you're enjoying these programs and recording this history, and hope that you'll join us on pigskindispatch.com or more of our Pigskin Dispatch podcasts or our Jersey Dispatch podcasts. Also, go to sportshistorynetwork.com for we have about 30 other podcasters in addition to these two podcasts I just mentioned, and with our Orville Mulligan sports writer, which is also there at sportshistorynetwork.com. But these other podcasters are experts in their fields as well. They talk, Joe Ziemba, we told you, is one of those podcasters, and they have talks and chats all the time, recorded for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You can download as many as you like. There's thousands of hours there, sportshistorynetwork.com, and I think you'll get some great enjoyment out of that. Now, till tomorrow, everybody, have a great Gridiron Day. Peeking up at the clock, the time's running down. We're going to go into victory formation, take a knee, and let this baby run out. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you back tomorrow for the next podcast. We invite you to check out our website, pigskindispatch.com, not only to see the daily football history, but to experience positive football with our many articles on the good people of the game, as well as our own football comic strip, Cleat Marks Comics. Pigskindispatch.com is also on social media outlets, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and don't forget the Pigskin Dispatch YouTube channel to get all of your positive football news and history. Special thanks to the talents of Mike and Jean Monroe, as well as Jason Neff for letting us use their music during our podcast.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.
It was just another ordinary day in the offices of the Pittsburgh Guardian newspaper circa 1924. But for Marla Delft, assistant editor, everything was about to change. For she was about to discover the awesome attractiveness of Row 1 brand retro sports paraphernalia items thanks to Orville Mulligan, sports writer.
And there it is.
Wow, Orville, that's really the bee's knees.
Isn't it just? A poster-sized replica of the actual 1909 World Series program cover.
I can see that. But where did you get it? And where'd you get it framed?
I ordered it from the Row 1 website, where over 6,000 items of sports memorabilia from the 1880s to the 1990s are available for reproduction, in multiple sizes and in several different materials, with over a dozen styles of frame to choose from for prints like this.
Well, I'm sure Mr. Delft would love to put up more of these in the office. But I'm equally as sure they're beyond this newspaper's budget.
Not at all, my dear Marla. See for yourself. Go to sportshistorynetwork.com/row1.
sportshistorynetwork.com/row1. Oh my, these are good prices. Oh, and look at this stuff. Oklahoma-Nebraska football, college basketball art, Michael Jordan items.
And so
retro
it was that
sports
Marla Delft
advertisement
discovered the
placards.
splendiferous magic of Row 1 sports memorabilia, arts, and prints. You can too by visiting sportshistorynetwork.com/row1. That's ROW1 today for access to the full Row 1 catalog of gallery prints and gifts like t-shirts, long-sleeve shirts, telephone cases, coffee mugs, blankets, pillows, towels, and even shower curtains. Act today for 15% discount off all prints with coupon code SHN15 and 20% off all other items with coupon code SHN20 at checkout. And keep your dial locked to the Sports History Network for the exciting chronicles of the 1920 sports world in Orville Mulligan, sports writer. Coming soon.